What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's a good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. And in the midst of us waiting for the official news about some of the more significant hirings of Aaron Glenn's coaching staff as the newest head coach of the New York Jets, if there's any indication we won't have any problems assembling a strong crew here, it would be the continuous support of legends across the league. When it was just current members of the New York Jets or former members of the New York Jets, it made a ton of sense, but it stretches beyond that. At this point, if he's come across any kind of high-ranking or legendary status individual throughout any of his stops, Saints, Cowboys, Broncos, for example, Jets, of course, just any of those various connections throughout the league, people are speaking out, and they're speaking with, a certain regard that I think you would assume he was already, some kind of like Hall of Fame caliber coach or something along those likes. But this speaks volumes to me, right? One of the biggest question marks of our offseason has nothing to do with a player. It has nothing to do with cap space, any of that. It starts with, what will it take to not only install and implement a new culture with the New York Jets, but what do we need to have to get that built and sustain that, right? We've seen flashes of it, or we've seen coaches like Rex Ryan that kind of tie the culture to a lot of emotion and a lot of critical moments, but it's never lasted. Aaron Glenn feels like the first individual where you are seeing a large amassment of people throughout the NFL, players throughout the NFL that want to be involved with Aaron Glenn and what this reclamation project with the New York Jets are going to look like. And there's two faces here that I think individually, if you were given the seal of approval from either one of these guys, it would take you far in the league. But to get this from not only Bill Parcells, but also Drew Brees, also plenty of other top tier individuals on the offensive side. I mean, you of course have your Sauce Gardners, your Jermaine Johnsons. There's a conversation to be had about if Aaron Glenn can find a way to retain DJ Reed after he mentioned wanting to exit. Brees Hall, I believe, has been, chatting and tweeting things out. Keyshawn Walker, the list is going to continue to go on and on. Victor Green's coming out. You have Mike Westhoff, who's already spoken about his plans to help install and work out with the Jets over the course of training camp. So I don't know how you don't get a good feeling in your heart right now about Aaron Glenn as the next head coach for the New York Jets, because it's one thing for people to favor him and maybe to have those past connections and everything, but the level of support, the level of people that are dropping things at the drop of a hat, it feels like, to come and make sure that Aaron Glenn steps out on the right foot is huge. So there's a couple of quotes from Bill Parcells as well as Drew Brees that I want to dive into that I really feel like sets the tone for what we're going to expect here with him. Starting off with Bill Parcells, he referred to him as being a really great young man. I'll tell you what, don't let his size fool you. He's a tiger now. They're going to have somebody that is going to be in charge, which is huge for us, right? There's been plenty of question marks, even with the allure, the persona of Aaron Glenn. Can he overcome the meddling of Woody Johnson? What does it look like? Well, I think now many of us believe he's going to be the official kind of face of the franchise, considering it feels like he's picking the next GM that he'll be in tandem with here. And I'm perfectly comfortable with it after seeing, again, the level of support that he's had, and really just a ton of the stories I think really pushes it over the edge as well in terms of his ability to acclimate, his ability to lead, his ability to be disciplined, his ability to draw out and develop talent. So I'm bought in here. Bill Parcells goes on to continue to say, I can remember just standing there with him and talking with him about technique, how to force the run, how to get out of trouble when guys are trying to block him. I can remember talking several times to him specifically about things And the good thing about him, when you taught him something, he could take it right to the field. Not every player can do that. You explain it to him. Here's how you go about doing it, and he would he would come pretty close to doing it correctly right away. And this was kind of a metaphor, a euphemism, whatever you want to relate it to his ability to also apply that to coaching. And he's done it the right way. And I think this is one of the pieces, as you continue to hear people talk and break down Aaron Glenn's career leading up to this point. He's done things in a manner that I don't personally know any other coach that's taking the same level of detail and steps that he did to get to this path. Going through scouting, going through front office, deciding to start off in the lowest ranks of the coaching world as a quality control, assistant, and then working his way into position coach and then up to a D coordinator, etc., etc. This is a guy that I heard this talked about on a number of platforms, but this is a guy who's always had the vision that he was going to be a head coach. And this is one of those people where, if you've ever been in school, for example, high school specifically, and you're thinking about those, what do you even call them? It's like the most likely to become president type stuff that most schools do. Aaron Glenn would have been most likely to become a head coach. But not only that, he embraced it and understood the concept, mentality that was needed, and steps taken very early on. And so luckily for us, one of the huge talking points is that he's been around a Sean Payton. He's been around a Parcells to get groomed. He's been around some of these top tier guys. Rebuilds, etc., with Dan Campbell, where you feel really good that he's seen the best traits needed. He's seen the best examples. He's seen so many different situations and how it was resolved by these guys that are widely regarded to be the best of the best. So I couldn't be more thrilled. I always pay attention to specifically a lot of the quotes that I see from the offensive guys in the league, though, as it pertains to anybody on defense, such as when it came to Robert Saleh, such as when it came to Todd Bowles, anybody. But when you listen to guys on the other side of the ball that don't have a ton of interactions, or when they do have a ton to speak about, I think that gives you little indications about what it is that guy brings or brought or will bring to their new team. And with Bill Parcells, with Aaron Glenn, the examples are plenty. I've heard now a number of different guys that have talked about how Aaron Glenn has reached out, or he's pulled them aside individually to let them know, here's some things that I've seen that weren't going right. Here's a technique that I think you should practice to beat said coverage or said individual from a physical archetype standpoint. So I love it. Drew Brees is one that everybody should want to pick the brain apart for when it comes to people that he widely regards as being elite individuals. Some of his quotes: what I always knew about AG was there was an intensity and a competitiveness, and this is repeated by everybody. There's not a single person that said there's a day that Aaron Glenn takes a chill, there's a day that he takes it easy. And I get the feeling that he's kind of a fluid guy, and that he's not always, level 10 with the emotions or the feelings per se, but the expectations, the intensity, the preparedness, the intent, as Aaron Rodgers liked to call out a ton of times, that's always level 10. It's always, the most important thing about how people are going about their day. So I really enjoy that. He also goes on to say, but he was a leader of men who garnered so much respect from his teammates for the way he prepared and the way he played. You felt like if this guy gets into coaching, he's on the fast track. And we've seen that, right? It could have been a very easy thing where Aaron Glenn got into quality control, ended up having to stay there for 5, 6, 7 years, and then got to a position coach and had to stay there for 5, 6, 7 years. But I feel like Aaron Glenn has moved up relatively quickly, but also he's moved up on his own timeline. He's not a guy, from my understanding, that was just looking to leapfrog to the next promotion unless he felt ready, unless he felt like he's acquired the necessary skills he needed to master that and can take those to the next level. Okay, so he says he knows what it's like to create that type of environment, referencing establishing a new culture, seeing what a rebuild from a poorly run franchise to one that's been able to find success instantly looks like. And then some of the final stuff here. You come in with a very defined plan, standards, a chain of accountability. When you establish that right away, create an open door policy that's around teaching and extracting the best out of those around you. Those are the guys I want to be around. You're telling me you're going to be honest with me, you're going to push me, you're going to get the best out of me, and we're going to accomplish great things together. Sign me up for that. That's what AG represents. The guy he's had a chance to be around, that was their MO as well. He will do that in his own way. And so I think that's really the best part to end this on, right? This speaks directly to not only the people that's influenced him, his own kind of thought process, expectations, behavior. And this is one of those situations where he could totally end up failing with the New York Jets. That is a reasonable expectation just based on what we've seen. But I would say this is the first defensive guy where there's, again, so many different examples that are coming to light of what separates him from a Robert Saleh, what separates him from a Todd Bowles, what separates him from a Rex Ryan, that and plus, again, the amount of people that are coming to his support, right? So I would imagine that, let's say Woody Johnson starts to get that itch and he does want to butt in, Aaron Glenn feels like the person that would resolve that himself. If he doesn't, it feels like, or excuse me, if it doesn't go well, or if he feels like he needs a moment to figure out how he wants to attack it, he has a bevy of people that will come to his aid to let him know, here's, what we're thinking, bounce some ideas off, be a sounding board, or people that want to interject, right? I can see a Joe Namath wanting to roll up to the building to let, Woody Johnson know you need to back off and let this man implement his plan and see how it gets executed. But year one expectations is something I want to talk about at some point this offseason as well, because I think that will lead down a whole nother road of conversations about even with all the support and stuff like that, there's a lot that's kind of working against him. The Aaron Rodgers conversation, the cap space, the free agents that are leaving, and maybe the inability to get some. He does have a full complement of draft picks and such, but you're in this situation in no man's land potentially with your quarterback situation, Garrett Wilson, who may want to walk out the door, Breece Hall, who maybe isn't as close to Garrett Wilson as potentially being a trade candidate, but somebody you also have to keep an eye out for and has already voiced his opinion about his utilization in the past. So we'll see. Hopefully we get more answers than questions once we see what his coaching staff rollout looks like. But I can't help but feel very positive, very excited about kind of what we're building pretty quickly here with Aaron Glenn, just based off, again, all of the information we're getting. So let me know what you guys ultimately think, though, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace.